Hello and welcome to the Ohio Valley Sports Blog Video Podcast, NFL Week 12. I'm BJ.
I'm Cody.
I mean,
All right, let's start off with the big matchup this week. 4-6 Steelers going to the 4-6 Browns. Ian, nervous?
very nervous. I'm very nervous, mostly because I just hate the idea of playing Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh has their backs against the wall like they do, and Cleveland has their backs against the wall too. I mean, make no mistake about it. The winner of this game at least keeps their playoff hopes alive for at least another week. The loser is pretty much all but out. You could pretty much say the loser will not make the playoffs. And it's a big game. It's always a big game, but this is the first time in a long time that it's actually had a little bit of an importance for both of these teams. And I'm hoping that the Browns respond to the pressure in a much better way than they did on Sunday. But I have my reasons to just be really nervous about it. It's gonna be a fight Sunday. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, it is the first time in a good while that it's a meaningful game between both teams. Probably have to go back to 2007 when Cleveland tied the Steelers for the division but lost the tiebreaker. It's the last time both teams were relevant. And I mean, both teams, you can see it going either way because they both have their warts. They're both not very good teams. And if the AFC wasn't so bad this year, you'd be talking about two teams that were on their way to a top 15 pick. Instead, you're talking about two teams keeping their playoff hopes alive. I really like what I saw last week against Detroit. They came out firing. The second quarter, they looked like the 2013 Steelers again, giving up points, settling for field goals on the offensive side. But they really responded at halftime. Calvin Johnson didn't have a catch in the second half. Matthew Stafford threw not for many yards. He had 300 plus at half and didn't even reach 400, so they held him below 100. So the defense just really stepped up in the second half, and it was nice to see the offense do it too. And it just makes you so frustrated because they have that potential. They're still good players in Pittsburgh, but it's getting them to play on that level that's been so hard this year.
Right, and for the first time this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers can say they actually beat somebody who's worth anything.
Yeah.
Because their other wins of the year, the Ravens, the Jets,
And
the
the
Bills, they're all so-so teams. They're not very good, with the exception the Ravens and Jets are still relevant, but that doesn't make them good in a weak AFC. But it was nice to see that the offense has been scoring points most of the year, and they continued that. Antonio Brown had another big game. What concerns me is the running game. It's still not where it needs to be, but it's not a concern because we're winning. But against a really good Cleveland defense, you can't be one-dimensional, and that's what scares me. Because if you're going to just try to pass against Cleveland, Hayden's going to end up with some interceptions. But, it's really hard to run the ball against them, too,
Yeah.
so it's going to be interesting.
I mean, I'm gonna look back at that game on Sunday in Cincinnati, and this is gonna sound crazy, that was Cleveland's best defensive performance the entire year. I know the scoreboard is gonna show you that they gave up 41 points, but it really kind of came apart in that second quarter. But here's your drive chart for the second quarter. Cincinnati touchdown, 2 plays, 22 yards, 52 seconds. Cincinnati touchdown, 5 plays, 38 yards, a minute 34. Cincinnati touchdown on a blocked punt. Cincinnati touchdown on a fumble return. And then a field goal, 4 plays, 9 yards, 19 seconds. That was the quarter where it really fell apart for Cleveland. They were up 13-0 heading into that quarter. They had a pick six off of Joe Hayden. His first career pick six, by the way. He's never had that before, so that's huge for him. He played a great game the whole game. He held A.J. Green to 2 catches for 7 yards the entire game. You don't hold A.J. Green to 2 catches for 7 yards. Nobody does that to him. But he was able to do it, and the whole defensive secondary really played well. Dalton didn't even eclipse the 100-yard mark in passing the entire game. So it was the offense's inability to keep the defense off the field that did the Browns in ultimately. It was mistakes and it was the offense's inability to finish drives. And it was really the first time since he's taken over the starting role that Jason Campbell had that bad game. It was a terrible game for Campbell.
Right, and like you said, I mean, they didn't have a drive longer than 50 yards in that second quarter, so it doesn't sound that crazy. I mean, all their touchdowns came with a really short field, so you have to put that on the offense for turning the ball over. So,
And special teams even for the
right, I
block
mean,
punt
the block punt.
and the other and another punt that was tipped that deadened the ball near the 40-something yard line.
Yeah, so like you said, it is the first game that Campbell's just looked bad. It really reminds you of his Washington days and why he's bounced around like this. But I don't know. I mean, he can come out on Sunday and he can look good.
Yeah.
So,
I think the key for the Browns though is Jason Campbell can't throw the ball 56 times like he did on Sunday against Cincinnati.
No, that's a
The key's gonna be run the ball on Sunday against Cincinnati, albeit in a limited amount of carries. But Cleveland averaged 5.6 yards a carry. Pittsburgh has the 26th ranked rush defense this year in the NFL. Cleveland's going to have to establish that run game. They've really struggled with it all year, really. If there's ever a week to get it going and really get some balance on this offense, this would be the week to do it.
Right, and that really goes with both teams.
Yeah.
Because both teams really have not established any kind of run game. With Pittsburgh, it was wait till Le'Veon Bell gets healthy. He had that Liz Frank injury, and he hasn't looked all that great. The person who's looked the best is not getting the ball. Jonathan Dwyer, I think at one point, I saw he was averaging at least 4 yards a carry, something ridiculous, albeit a limited role. But don't you think if you had a guy averaging over 4 yards a carry, you would want to keep giving him the ball? I mean, I understand Bell is the back of the future, and I think once he learns what it's like in the NFL, he'll be better. But Dwyer is just, he gets the ball, he runs straight forward, he runs people over, and he does a good job, but yet he gets like 7 snaps a game.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a product of Bell not being good enough yet or the offensive line being so bad. But then you think of a guy like Jonathan Dwyer who's adapted to that, having to play with that last year. So, I mean, he might suit you better in the short term to go with a guy who's used to having absolutely no run block whatsoever. I mean, this offensive line, sure, they looked good on Sunday. There's a lot of quick snaps. The no huddle really kept Sue, really contained him and Fairley. I mean,
and
you're talking about 300, 400-pound guys having to run the no huddle. I mean, they're not going to be as effective as they would be.
And I just want to say this about that because it was good to see Ben Roethlisberger kind of take control of that offense. And you saw what happened when he did that. That offense was clicking, just firing. He had them ready to go at the line, play ready, snapped it, yards, clock, go, 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 go. And it was really good to see that out of the Steelers because it's something that you hadn't seen all year.
No, it was the first time you've heard ever anything positive about Todd Haley and Ben Roethlisberger's relationship. I mean, they couldn't talk about each other enough after the game. Oh yeah, we ran the no huddle and I was calling the plays, but it was a set list of plays from Haley, and Haley was going on about the game that Ben called. I mean, so it was really, you have to get them collaborating together. You can't have them working against each other because that doesn't solve anything. But you have them working together like a relationship you had with Arians. That's when he's going to flourish.
Exactly. In that game on Sunday, and I think you two will point to the same thing. The most impressive part of that game to me was what I have kind of fake nicknamed the drive. Fourth quarter, 16 plays, 97 yards, 8 minutes and 3 seconds off of the clock. That was the end right there. That was the end of the game. Pittsburgh added on those couple of scores after that, but that was it right there. That was just the killer. To allow that offense to go 97 yards down the field and eat up as much clock as they did was just unbelievable.
The most unbelievable part about it for me was the 3rd and 10, or it was a little. I think it was 3rd and 10 or a little bit more. I wasn't sure if Ben got sacked or not, but it was about 3rd and 10, and they had the ball on about the 3 or 4 yard line. I mean, you think, oh no, they're gonna punt the ball. Detroit's gonna get a short field. They're finally gonna start clicking on offense. Instead, he hits Antonio Brown. They get the first down, and like you said, I mean, they drive 97 yards. And normally this year, you would see the Steelers drive about 80 yards, losing on fourth down, settle for a field goal. So it was really nice to see him do something positive like that.
Right, and they really never let the gas off the pedal. They just kept going and kept going, which is really nice to see from the Steelers. And I just really think both teams are desperate. They need a win to get the realm of winning the division. Isn't out of the it's not
out of the question.
It's not out of the question because we all know Cincinnati. I mean, they can look good 1 minute and then lose three
and let's
straight.
be honest, Cincinnati looked terrible on Sunday.
They did.
They looked bad on Sunday.
I mean, when they were down 13-0, I mean, I thought, wow, I mean, they're gonna.
Here we go.
But then their defense really stepped up for them.
Their defense has been carrying them the last couple of weeks through all these games because their offense has just been. Their defense has really been carrying them most of the entire year. When you think about it, their offense has been so unproductive at times that their defense has really had to go out and keep them, and in some cases win them ball games. And the defense won them that ball game on Sunday, no doubt about it.
Now let's move on to another pivotal AFC wildcard matchup: the 5-5 Jets going to the 4-6 Ravens. Both teams have been models of inconsistency this year, especially the Jets. I think it's been win-loss for them all year. They'll go out there. Geno Smith will beat the Patriots, and then he'll look like a really bad rookie quarterback against the Steelers. So, I mean, you have two teams that are really inconsistent, then you know what you get with Joe Flacco when you're talking about inconsistent.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts about this game, Cody?
Well, it really does have a huge effect on both the Browns and the Steelers because it's essentially if the Jets find a way to win this game, whoever wins on Sunday is still a game behind them. And what that also does is if the Ravens lose to the Jets on Sunday, they're not going to get a chance to repeat. They're done.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's this team's two defensive teams right here is really what it is. The Ravens really haven't had an offense all year. Ray Rice can't get going. Bernard Pierce can't get going. It seems like they're really missing Bolden on the offense. I mean, and
Pitta too.
Pitta, they're really. I mean, Dallas Clark tries to do his best, but I mean, his best years was 6, 7, 8 years ago in Indianapolis. And then you have the Jets, who have a young quarterback. Like you said, he shows flashes of being a starter at time, but then he goes and throws 3 interceptions. So they really rely on their defense as well. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think since it's at Baltimore, I think I give the edge to Baltimore because I don't think Geno Smith can handle an environment like that. But it's going to be a good game.
Well, I'll just say this: if you're Baltimore, you got to really worry about the same thing that Pittsburgh's got to worry about because you're playing on Sunday, and then the quick turnaround, and they're playing each other Thursday night.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I can make or break one of those.
That's gonna. I mean, you've been hearing all the talk all day. If Pittsburgh gets past Cleveland, well, they still got Baltimore to worry about. You figure Baltimore beats New York on Sunday, and Pittsburgh beats Cleveland. I mean, there you go again. It's another winner's probably still alive and loser's probably out kind of deal. I mean, it's a toss-up really this game. I mean, like you've been saying, these two teams are just good one week, bad the next week. Good one week, bad the next week. I'll give kudos to the Ravens though, because the way they handled the situation that was presented to them on Sunday with the weather delay and the 2.5 hours and the longest first quarter in the history of football. And they were able to overcome all of that and come back on the road and win in Chicago in those adverse conditions. I mean, it speaks to the...
They lost in overtime.
They lost in overtime?
Right. They tied it.
They tied it. Well, I mean, they stayed...
They fought in battle.
They stayed in the game in a tough environment like that with all of the adverse effects that came around on them. It's going to be I think that's a little bit of a mental edge to them, really, that they can kind of overcome whatever kind of situation is going to get thrown at them.
Yeah, you really got to give kudos to the Ravens for I mean, and the Bears too. I mean, that's just a bad
Yeah.
situation, and for both teams to really stay in there and to battle. And it wasn't a bad second half.
No.
They didn't look flat. Like they both really looked good in the second half. So you got to give credit to both of them. But the really interesting note, I mean, Ed Reed's coming back to Baltimore for the second time this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened ever. If a player that was with the teams for so long left and went to another team, came back, went to another team and came back in the same year. I don't know if that's ever
I
happened.
can't remember it ever
No,
happening. But
and I want to continue on the point which you were saying. Here you have the Steelers. We're gonna throw it out there. Say if they go to Cleveland, they win. They sit at 5-6. And you're right. They have that for both the Ravens and the Steelers. They have that quick turnaround
Yeah.
Thursday night. Say the Steelers win again Thursday night, puts them at 6-6 with a week and a half off.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this could really play. It's almost like a mini bye week for them. If they could take care of business these last two, this Sunday and then Thursday, they're sitting at 6-6. They get a week and a half off, and then they're ready for the rest of the last remaining games. So I mean, it could work in their favor, or it could easily go south for them.
This is the make or break week for that team, for both of these teams. This
All
is
three teams, really.
Yeah, really for all three teams, but I think more specifically for Pittsburgh and Baltimore, because I mean you have 2 games in 4 days,
Right.
and
Two physical.
two
games.
very physical, 2 very hard hitting, and
and
2 very important
Right.
games.
Right, and I want to throw this out here, and we're talking about the Steelers, the Browns, the Ravens. If they lose, somebody has to lose.
Yeah.
They go to 4-7 at some point. They went out. They're still at 9-7
Still
in
at
a
9-7.
decent position, but Baltimore still has to play. They play Pittsburgh. They play the Jets on Sunday. They play Pittsburgh. Then they got Minnesota. But their last 3 weeks of the season, they go to Detroit, home to New England, and then at Cincinnati on the road. They have a tough back end of the schedule. They really need to figure it out if they're going to have any chance of repeating as Super Bowl champs here, because it's going to be tough.
Well, I mean, you got to think, looking at Cleveland even, you've got Pittsburgh this week, Jacksonville next week, both at home. Those are 2 winnable games. But then after that, you are on the road at New England. You are on the road at the Jets. You are home against the Bears, and then you are on the road at Pittsburgh to end out the year.
Just
I mean,
tough.
I mean, really, and you could really say the same thing. You could really say that the Steelers, even though they have 2 games in 4 days coming up, probably are sitting in the best position to go get this
Right.
because of their back half of their schedule.
Right. I mean, they play Cincinnati again, which we all know they rely on their defense. They're either home to Green Bay or at Green Bay.
They're at Green Bay.
Okay,
At
they're
Green
at
Bay.
Green
the
Bay.
next to last week of the
Right,
season.
right. They're at Green Bay.
They have the Dolphins.
Yeah, and then they have the Dolphins. But Green Bay, we don't know how long Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers is going to be out.
Well, I fully
And
expect
even-
Aaron Rodgers to be back by then.
Okay, even if he is he going to be 100%? So that's
the question.
I mean, the way I looked at it, Pittsburgh had 2 really tough games that they had to win one of the 2 to stay in it, and that was Detroit and Green Bay.
Yeah.
I thought the division games, the way our division is, if you play somewhat consistent football, you should win those games. So I was looking at those 2 games as what games they had to win, and they took care of business with the first one. So let's move on, though. Another matchup, we have the Colts, and they're going to take on the Arizona Cardinals. And when you look at the Cardinals, you really don't think, oh, it's the Cardinals, but they've actually been playing some decent football for once. Carson Palmer's finally doing what they thought he would do. And then you have the Colts, who just always seem to put themselves in a 20-0 hole and see if they can get out of it by the end of the fourth quarter. BJ, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's another kind of a reuniting game. Bruce Arians, who filled in for Chuck Pagano last year and led the Colts to their 12-4 season. He's with the Cardinals now. He's doing a pretty decent job. They're 6-4 on the year. You wouldn't think it to watch them though, but I mean the past couple of weeks they've been really impressive. Like you said, Carson Palmer's finally getting into a groove, really utilizing his weapons with Michael Floyd and Larry Fitzgerald. Then like you said, the Colts, who dig themselves in 20-point holes. But the crazy thing is more often than not they get out of it. I
The last
mean,
couple of weeks they've kind of spun their wheels in that regard.
right.
But
I mean, they're down 20-0, then you change the game, you change it back half an hour later, they're winning 41-20,
yeah,
and Andrew Luck has 7 touchdown passes.
or they end up losing like 30-something to 3 to St. Louis.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean, there's
so
things like that too.
You never know what you're going to get with the Cardinals or with the Colts. But I expect this to be a good game on Sunday, high scoring game. So just two good teams.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real fun game to watch. I think these are two really good teams that are going to be going at it. A really important game for both teams in terms of their respective divisional races and their respective playoff hunts. I mean, I obviously think that Indianapolis is going to end up winning their division. But
by default, really.
by default, really, I mean, there's really nobody that's going to step up and challenge them in that division at this point. But you still, obviously, if you're Arizona, you've got the tough one out there because you've got San Francisco and Seattle in your division. If you're trying to fight for that kind of playoff position, I mean, you're gonna have to get past one of those teams.
Right, you have those two teams, and then you have those two teams who you would assume both would make the playoffs, and then the wild card hunt, you have Carolina as well. I mean, if you take away Carolina and the good season they're having, I mean, everyone's talking about the Cardinals and how good they are and how surprising it is for them. But probably at the end of the day, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'd assume that Carolina would get that last spot. But I mean, nonetheless,
who's going to get the other spot?
San Francisco,
It'd be either San Francisco or
Seattle,
Seattle,
San Francisco, and Carolina.
Okay. I mean, I would say you have.
But
that's not. I mean, the 49ers, they're 6-4. They're not doing great, so they do have. They do kind of have something to. What's interesting is the Cardinals end the season in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that could be something it comes down to.
That could be a big game.
So.
All right, let's move on to probably the biggest game of the week nationally. You have the Broncos and the Patriots. Manning versus Brady. You've had these guys going at it for about 12 years now, and they always put a good product on the field when they play each other. Ian?
I know it's not a rivalry between the two per se. They'll never acknowledge that it is. But
yes, it is.
But it is. But I mean, it's just fun to watch the two best quarterbacks in the league just do their thing and try and one up each other. Really, that's all these games are when these two teams play. It's Peyton Manning trying to one up Tom Brady and Tom Brady trying to one up Peyton Manning. It's just fun as a football fan to watch it because you watch this and you sit back and you can watch every other game around the league the entire day leading up to that game, and the level of quarterback play in that game will be so far ahead of any other game that you have seen that entire day that it'll blow your mind how efficient these guys are, and I expect nothing less from it today or on Sunday. And let's not forget the fact that these are two really good football teams outside of the quarterback that are playing each other.
Right, and it's going to be interesting to see how New England responds with that controversial ending to the game at Carolina. Was it pass interference? Was it holding? Was there, I mean, I know things like that. They say, okay, it was a game. That's not the reason we lost. We didn't do this, this, and this. Let's move on. But something with that lingers with you because you feel like you've been cheated out of a victory.
I'm interested to hear you guys' opinion. Was it pass interference?
I would have thought it had been pass interference if Gronkowski would have attempted to lunge at the ball. A lot of people were saying, oh, well, he had no shot. But you didn't see Gronkowski lunging forward to try to throw the defender off of him. Then it would have been obvious pass interference. But I don't know, because the ball was, and if the ball was thrown a little better, it might have been pass interference.
But the debate there is, was Brady throwing the ball to where Gronkowski should have been had he not been bear hugged by Kuechly?
Right, but if Gronk makes the effort to, if he flops essentially and goes to the ground, you have to call it pass interference.
And it's not like Gronkowski's a small guy. I mean, Kuechly's a big guy too.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt in my mind that if Gronkowski saw the ball coming and it was a catchable ball, he would have done everything in his power, which is a lot of power, to move Kuechly off of him. Instead, He didn't see the ball coming. It was a severely underthrown ball. Like you said, it might have been because he was out of position, but I'm not buying that. I just think that it was an underthrown ball. I think the pressure got to Brady. He was getting rushed all night, and he's not one for pressure. He likes to get rid of the ball. He doesn't like to get hit.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the approach that Bill Belichick took in his press conference today. Right out of the gate, obviously, the Boston media asked him, Bill, what did you think of the picked up flag on Monday night? And Bill Belichick, being Bill Belichick, looks this guy dead in the eyes and says, "We're focusing on Denver." And he keeps pressing him, and all Belichick keeps saying is, "We're focusing on Denver. We're focusing on Denver. We're looking forward to Denver."
You know what the funniest part about it to me though was, Tom Brady yelling at a ref's one thing, and I mean he's earned it. He's won three Super Bowl rings, and it's not. He shouldn't be yelling at a ref like that. I mean, I don't think anyone should. But who's Ryan Mallett to yell at a ref like that? I mean, is he Tom Brady's little Toto? I mean, what is he yelling at the refs for? I mean.
The best part was I thought the same thing. I'm like, Mallett, you never even saw the field. Why are you getting yourself in this?
And to get back to it, I thought at the very least though, defensive holding.
At the very least,
5-yard penalty. This is where I have the problem with it. Because I'm caught on the edge. I don't think it was pass interference because Gronk didn't make the effort.
I don't think it was pass interference.
But once the flag was thrown, you have to make the call. If you're going to
at least an explanation. I mean, you can't go. No flag. Plays over.
Well, no, I wouldn't even go. If you throw the flag, call it because you could easily justify why. And if you didn't throw the flag, you could justify why you didn't call it.
Yeah.
But once the flag is thrown, just call it.
And the thing that probably bugs me the most about that, though, is the ref right behind the play threw the flag. He had the best view.
Yeah.
And then the other refs that didn't have the greatest view of it come in and collaborate and say to pick up the flag.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's a whole bunch of controversy. It's a whole bunch of up in the air stuff. We're never going to really know whether or not it was the right call or not. But, like they say, you got to get ready to go play the next one. And the Pats have a very good next one coming to them.
One quick question, because this has been raised. Do you think they should be able to review pass interference calls?
I think they should. I don't understand why, especially at the end of a game like that. Maybe not every time that some guy gets tackled.
That's what I'm talking about.
At the end of a game like that, I don't see a problem with it.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. Not just I'm talking. People are saying that this is why they need instant replay for pass interference on all pass interference. To me, it slows the game down. I don't care because it's all a big cycle. I mean, every now and then your team gets screwed by a referee, but does it happen every single week? No. Are they human? Yes.
Let's be honest. If you were to go back and you were to look at every controversial flag that gets thrown in the NFL,
the case can be made either way.
I'm just going to say that about 95% of the time, the referees usually get it right.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
and it's already slow enough when they go kick the ball off, take a timeout. End of the quarter, take a timeout. Score, take a timeout. TV timeout. And then you throw in when they do challenge a play and the refs in the booth for 5 to 10 minutes reviewing it. It's slowing the game down as it is. I'm fine with making the ref have a judgment call because you're right, Ian. Most of the time they get it right, and we don't really need all that technology in the game. It's already there for almost everything else. So let's just leave it be and shut up, New England, you bunch of crybabies.
All right, let's move on to an interesting question. In the horrible AFC this year, you have the Steelers, Browns, Chargers, Ravens, Titans, and Raiders are all 4-6. At 5-5, you have the Jets and Dolphins, all going for the last playoff spot. Ian, who gets it?
The San Diego Chargers get it. I feel like let's be honest. They've been in every single game that they have played this year. They are a competitive team. They're firing really on all cylinders. I like what they're doing out there. I think they're the best 4 and 6 in this group. I think they're the best one in this group.
They're the best of the crappy
They're
teams.
they're the best of the leftover teams. But I feel like this is the year that Phillip Rivers gets this team into the playoffs. They've got a tough test this week, having to go play Kansas City at Arrowhead. But I feel like they're gonna have that spark that gets them going, and they're gonna start rolling downhill.
Okay, I like your initial thought, because looking through this list, based on what the Chargers have been doing, they see 4-6, they seem competitive. They go to Kansas City. They're home against Cincinnati. They're home against the Giants, who have won 4 straight. Then they go to Denver. Then they're at home against Oakland, and then at home against Kansas City. I don't think they're going to be able to win
5, 6 of those games.
5 or 6 of those games. I mean, just look at the Kansas City games alone. They're lucky if they're lucky they split that. That makes them 5 and 7. Then you mean to tell me they're going to go to at Denver and beat them? It really all comes down to.
My thing is, I think they beat the Giants. I think they beat the Bengals.
Right.
I think they beat the Raiders.
Yeah, all winnable games. I'm just saying, Kansas City and Denver, they're pretty good. To win 2 or 3 is what they have to do.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough. And if they do it, good for them.
Yeah.
They deserve to be in the playoffs.
I just feel like in terms of what they have on that roster, I think they're they're in the best position in terms talent-wise to make it happen.
Okay, let's take another approach to this.
Ian, I want your pick.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to seem biased. I just don't. I feel the Jets and Dolphins are too inconsistent, with the Jets being the Jets and the Dolphins with their whole situation down there. I don't think the Titans and Raiders are for real, and I don't think the Chargers with that schedule are really gonna. I think it's too tough. I think it's gonna come down between the winner of the Steelers-Brown game on Sunday. You know, I'm going to go out and say I think Pittsburgh, because they have a soft schedule down the stretch. They really do. I think they can win, 5 of 6 and get in at 9 and 7.
Looking at those teams, you have 2 teams with playoff pedigree, recent playoff pedigree. You have the Steelers and Ravens. It's going to come down to who wins that game on Thanksgiving night, next Thursday. I don't like it at all, but because they're at home, I'll give the edge to the Ravens. Yeah. And I'll say the Ravens get that last playoff spot.
I'll just throw my one hope in the race, and that is that as a Browns fan, I just hope that we crush the dream on Sunday and get it over with. Let's end it Sunday.
All right, let's move on to picks for this week. Ian, you want to write them down for us?
I forgot my pen this week.
All right, we'll start with the Saints and Falcons. Cody?
Falcons have been terrible this year. Give me the Saints.
Yeah, I'll take the Saints as well.
Yeah, the Saints easily. I think the Falcons at this point are in a full-on tank and get a high pick kind of mode.
Okay, the Bears going to St. Louis to play the Rams.
Give me Chicago. I feel like although St. Louis has looked a little bit better the last couple of weeks, I just don't think there's enough in there to really say that they are able to beat a really good Bears team.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears as well. I mean, their backs are starting to get pushed up against the wall. They're a good team, good coach. I'll take the Bears in this one.
Yeah, I like the Bears because it seems like whenever Cutler's not in and McCown's in, the offense is more balanced with Forte getting the ball. So I like a lot of Forte this week with the Bears.
Carolina Panthers coming off their controversial win, going to Miami to play the Dolphins.
Carolina's been rolling as of late. I don't see any reason that they're going to slow down this week. Give me the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't either. Cam Newton is really becoming the quarter. I mean, he always put up the stats the past couple years, but he's starting to win now, and they're going to be a really big force in the NFC.
Yeah, give me Superman and the Panthers.
The Chargers going to the Chiefs.
Because it's an Arrowhead, I feel like Kansas City has the edge. But what I'm gonna hold out hope on for that pick is that San Diego beats them at home. That's what I'm gonna hold out on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs as well. Everyone talks about Seattle's home field advantage. Kansas City actually set a record this year for loudest home stadium. Coming off a loss, they know they have to keep up with the Broncos. I'll take the Chiefs in this one at home.
Yeah, unfortunately, and the dream dies this week for the Chargers. Give me the Chiefs.
Uh, the Suck Bowl 2013.
Oh my God, this is a game.
Why didn't we talk about
We
this?
have the 1-9 Jaguars going to the 2-8 Texans.
You know what? I wrote them a couple of weeks ago, and they proved me right. They beat the Tennessee Titans. Give me the Jaguars on the road. Give it to me.
This kind of really speaks volumes to how bad the Jaguars are, because even though it's at Houston, Houston's a 10-point favorite, and they're only one game worse. Case Keenum has not looked terrible for Houston this year. I'll take the Texans.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Case Keenum, I think, might be their quarterback of the future down in Houston. So give me them against an awful Houston or awful Jaguars.
I called that game a couple weeks ago.
You
though.
did.
The Vikings going to the Packers. No Aaron Rodgers. You have Scott Tolzien going for Green Bay.
Yeah. I still like the Pack though. I just feel like Minnesota is just really, really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Packers know who's going to start. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure the Vikings have announced a starter, but I mean,
Does anybody
it can
care?
be any.
Does anybody-
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're so bad, and the Packers are desperate. I mean, they're 5-5. Detroit and Chicago are both 6-4. They really need to start treading water without Aaron Rodgers.
With all this being said, give me Minnesota because I think Peterson's going to have a big game, and I don't think the Packers are going to have an answer on offense for him.
Okay.
Bold.
That is bold. The 2-8 Buccaneers going
Ouch.
to the Lions. But wait, if I am correct, and I am, the Buccaneers are on a 2-game win streak.
Hey, it's a win streak now. It ends. Detroit, big.
Yeah, give me Detroit big too.
Yeah, I think Matthew Stafford remembers he's a elite quarterback and has one of the best receiver of all time, possibly. So give me Detroit.
Pivotal matchup.
It's a pivotal matchup. I mean,
It is a pitiful matchup.
Say that 3 times fast, everybody.
You have the Jets going to the Ravens.
Give me Baltimore at home. I feel like they're going to be setting up real well for that Thursday night game against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that one too. The Ravens, good defense at home against a rookie quarterback. You really can't pick against that.
Did the Jets win last week?
They did not.
Give me the Jets. The pattern, baby. The
The
pattern.
pattern.
Okay. Then we have the Titans and the Raiders. This is a pivotal. This is a pitiful matchup too. 2, 4, and 6 AFC wildcard teams.
Knocking them out.
Give me Oakland in the black hole at home.
Yeah, I'll take Oakland as well. The Titans losing Jake Walker for the season. He was who really got
Did you
them
see
their
the
wins.
over-under on that game, though, for points? The over-under total is 11.5 points.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. I'll tell you
Wow.
on one side in this matchup, you have Matt McGloin playing for Oakland, who actually looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
But Tennessee, Chris Johnson's remembered how to run the ball, and he's been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. So I think I'm going to take the Titans in this one.
Okay. Then we have the Colts and the Cardinals.
Give me Indianapolis. I think there's just too much offensive firepower built up in that offense, and I don't think Arizona's going to be able to keep pace with them for the whole game.
Give me Arizona in this one. I'm going to say that Carson Palmer has a really big day, and for the first time in a really long time, you really hear Larry Fitzgerald's name for a big game.
Yeah, I really think the Colts at this point. I mean, I know they're still 7-3, but you can tell that they're starting to miss Reggie Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Honey Badger's going to have a big game, maybe an interception or a forced fumble or something. I'm going to take Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have the best young defensive backfield in the league. You have Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu.
Honey Badger.
It's pretty impressive.
Honey Badger don't care.
The Cowboys and the Giants. The Giants winners of 4 straight, trying to come back from the dead.
I'm gonna pick the team that doesn't have Des Bryant on their roster.
I'm gonna go with the Giants too. They're at home. They're really good in desperation games.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Giants because this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They put their backs against the wall and see if they can get out of it. And I think they do. I mean, 4 straight. Let's make it 5.
The Sunday night matchup, you have the Broncos and the Patriots at Foxborough.
Peyton Manning gets the better of Tom Brady and the Broncos win by 2 scores.
Ooh.
A Bill Belichick coach team at home, coming off that loss last week. Give me the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots don't lose at home that often. But Peyton Manning has been really good. But I don't think Peyton Manning really plays well in cold weather.
And that's,
I mean, it's going to be cold in Foxborough on Sunday, too. But they have the firepower that I don't think New England does. But I don't care. It's at home, and it's Tom Brady, and it's... Give me New England.
All right, and then in the Monday night matchup, the 49ers and Redskins.
San Francisco, I feel like they get back on track this week.
Yeah, I'll take San Francisco.
Yeah, it's never good when you have a coach yelling at a quarterback and then a quarterback calling out a receiver, all that garbage they have going on. So give me the Niners.
All right, and then the big matchup we've been waiting
go!
for. The Steelers at the Browns.
Okay.
And
so, I've got a little bit of the numbers, if you want to go by numbers. They've been playing since 1950, obviously the hiatus when the Browns left. Pittsburgh leads the all-time series 63-57.
Woo!
In Pittsburgh, the record is Pittsburgh 39-21. In Cleveland, the record is Cleveland 36-24. However, since 1999, Pittsburgh is 12-3 in Cleveland. Make it 12-4. The Browns end it Sunday. I'm telling you, this team bounces back big Sunday.
Ben Roethlisberger is ridiculously good in the state of Ohio. I don't know if that's a reflection on how bad the Browns have been in the past, how bad the Bengals can be at times. A Steelers team back up against the wall. Give me the Steelers.
Yeah, it's going to be a good physical game here. Excuse me. And we have... You know what? I think Pittsburgh wins this game just because their back's against the wall. And I really think the players want to forget that 7 turnover game. So I think they have something to prove this game. Give me Pittsburgh. I'll give you a score. I want 27-21. It's going to be close.
You want to throw in a score?
I don't want to throw in a score, but I want to throw in a nice little friendly wager here.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Pittsburgh wins on Sunday. I will do the entire next week's podcast in a Steelers jersey.
Okay.
Browns win on Sunday. I've got a good set of Browns jerseys hanging in my closet that are ready to roll.
Okay. Let's
throw this out on a side note.
Let's be realistic. Though.
I will not fit in your jersey.
I have a big one.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll say Ian, we're talking about me and you because BJ.
I have a big one.
Okay.
All right. So Steelers win.
I will do the whole next podcast in a Steelers jersey.
Okay.
And you will wave a terrible towel to start.
Oh,
and if they lose, we'll be wearing Browns jerseys.
All right, sounds good, boys.
See you next week.
See you next week.